The New York City 2012 Olympic bid was one of the 5 shortlisted bids for the 2012 Summer Olympics, ultimately won by London. New York City's Olympic bid was managed by a private non-profit organization, NYC 2012, founded by Daniel L.Doctoroff, then the managing director of Oak Hill Capital Partners, a private equity firm. Doctoroff thought of bringing the Olympic Games to New York after witnessing New York's international sports fans at a 1994 FIFA World Cup match in Giants Stadium. He then built a team to help craft a plan for staging the games. 7 years later, Doctoroff resigned as president of NYC 2012 to join the administration of Mayor Michael Bloomberg, but he continued to lead New York's Olympic bid as deputy mayor for economic development and rebuilding. 2 of the biggest projects proposed as part of the bid were the revival of the East River waterfront, including the construction of an Olympic Village across the river from the United Nations headquarters and an aquatics center in Brooklyn, and the construction of West Side Stadium, which was supposed to have led to the comprehensive redevelopment of the far west side of Manhattan. Other projects that were part of the bid included a rowing course in Queens, a velodrome in the South Bronx, a marina along the coast of the Atlantic Ocean, an equestrian center on Staten Island, and the refurbishment of the historic 369th Regiment Armory in Harlem. Venues. Olympic venues would have been spread around the city had it been selected for the Olympics. Olympic Village. The village would have been located on the East River waterfront of Queens across from the United Nations headquarters. During the Olympics and Paralympics, it would have housed more than 16,000 athletes and coaches, costing an estimate of $1.5 billion. The village would include plazas and shops, restaurants, acres of green landscape, training centers and fields, a private dining hall, religious centers, and ferry and train service. Post-Olympic plans would provide world-class residential housing for up to 18,000 New York residents. The area would have designed by Morphosis Architects as the heart and crossroad of New York's Olympic X plan. Olympic Square, West Side Stadium, International Broadcasting Center, Main Press Center, Jacob K. Javits Convention Center along with its expansion, Madison Square Garden, Central Park, Olympic Park, Olympic Stadium, Flushing Meadows Corona Regatta Center, USDA Billie Jean King National Tennis Center, Water Polo Center, Archery Stadium near the backdrop of the Unisphere, Olympic Riverfront 369th Regiment Armory, Yankee Stadium, Baker Field at Columbia University, Pelham Bay Shooting and Pentathlon Center, Queensbridge Athletic Center. Elsewhere in the metropolitan area, Brooklyn Barclays Center, Williamsburg Waterfront Center, Queens Breezy Point Marina, Staten Island Temporary BMX Stadium, Greenbelt Equestrian Center, Fresh Gills Park, Fort Wadsworth, Richmond County Bank Ballpark, Long Island Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum, New Jersey Izod Center, Giants Stadium. Elsewhere in the United States, Gillette Stadium, Yale Bowl, Lincoln Financial Field, FedEx Field, West Side Stadium, an Olympic stadium on the west side of Manhattan had been part of NYC 2012's plan since 2000, when the organization's blueprint for the Games was formally unveiled to the public. Host to opening and closing ceremonies and athletics competitions. The West Side Stadium would have sat adjacent to the Jacob Javits Convention Center, host to 6 Olympic sports, Olympic Olympic Square Park, and a new 40-plus-story office tower that would have housed Olympic broadcasters in 2012. The stadium's construction was scheduled to proceed regardless of whether New York was awarded the 2012 Olympic Games. The project was to be paid for by the New York Jets, New York City, and New York State. According to the project's promoters, the building's retractable roof, unnecessary for football, would make the stadium a flexible, multi-purpose facility. It would provide a long-term boost to New York's economy and would jump-start the development of Manhattan's far west side. Local civic groups concerned with congestion and a changing neighborhood had long opposed its construction, and it historically had low citywide approval ratings. The project managed to stay largely out of the media and public spotlight until early 2004, when Cablevision released its first round of advertising against the stadium. As the owner of Madison Square Garden, which is located just a few blocks from the site of the proposed Olympic Stadium, Cablevision saw the new facility as a potential threat to the Garden's share of concert, convention, and other major event business. Political opponents of New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg, notably the contenders for the Democratic mayoral nomination, used the stadium issue as a symbol that he was a billionaire who was out of touch with the needs of average New Yorkers. Cablevision spent over $30 million on negative advertising and political lobbying, and even generated a competing proposal for development of the stadium site. However, the stadium was strongly supported by Bloomberg, who insisted that there was no alternate site for the Olympic Stadium and a project needed to be approved before the International Olympic Committee selected the host city on July 6, 2005. Finally, on June 6, 2005, the Public Authorities Control Board rejected New York State's $300 million contribution for the project, eliminating the possibility that an Olympic stadium on that site would be fully approved before the IOC's vote. The city, working with NYC 2012, quickly developed a backup plan, which called for a new ballpark for the New York Mets in Queens in the parking lot of Shea Stadium, later named Citi Field, to be completed for the 2009 baseball season. It was announced on June 12, 2005. The plan would be to use the stadium for the 2012 Olympics, while the Mets would play at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx for the 2012 season. Post-bid development, possibly the greatest legacy of NYC 2012, has been large-scale development of areas of New York City that underwent rezoning in order to move forward with the NYC 2012 bid. Manhattan's Hudson Yards and Brooklyn's Waterfront in Williamsburg and Greenpoint both underwent rezoning revisions, which were in part due to the region's planned roles as Olympic venues, including the controversial West Side Stadium. The development of the once industrial Queens West neighborhood on the East River may also have origins in the bid, as it was initially slated for development as the planned site of the Olympic Village. Following the Games, the site was to be bought by private developers and converted into condominiums. After the Olympic bid failed, the construction of Citi Field in Queens, now designated as the new home of the Mets, went on as scheduled. The Mets played the first game in the stadium in April 2009, upon the USOC reaching a new revenue-sharing agreement with the IOC in May 2012. New York had been mentioned as a potential candidate for the 2024 Summer Olympics, but Mayor Bill de Blasio decided not to bid in May 2014.